I'm Josh Muccio, reporting live from the center of Hurricane Milton's eye in Sarasota, Florida. Just kidding, the hurricane already passed and we're all okay. But alas, this is my home studio and you're listening to The Pitch, where startup founders raise millions and listeners can invest. The pitch for ESAI is coming up after this. And if you're not following the show already, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications.
ESAI.
I'm kind of a sucker for a founder who disrupts the very system they were once a part of. As a college advisor, Julia Dixon saw how her services were helping certain students get into their school of choice, while others got left behind. Eventually, she got fed up with the system and decided to do something a little crazy. Replicate herself by creating an AI that levels the playing field for millions of college applicants every year.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Julia.
Today, Julia is pitching Cyan Banister, Charles Hudson, Elizabeth Yin, Matt Conwell, and Jesse Middleton.
Jesse,
Julia, nice
Thanks.
to meet you. All right. Hi, everybody. Thanks for your time. My name is Julia Dixon, and I am the founder of ESAI. We are the AI platform that is democratizing college admissions. So you probably won't be surprised to hear that students are paying over $90 billion a year on college tuition. But did you know American families are spending an additional $3 billion a year on college advisors? Those are people like myself. I've spent the last 8 years helping students and their families navigate an increasingly chaotic time in college admissions. So if you know anyone who's applied to college recently, you know this process includes navigating everything from declining acceptance rates to the collapse of the FAFSA this year, to the end of affirmative action, confusing test optional policies, and so much more. And college advisors can majorly reduce some of these stressors, but they can also charge upward of $100,000 a year, making them inaccessible to most students. And while there are some great counselors at the school level, the average student-to-counselor ratio is nearly 400 to 1 nationally, meaning students aren't getting individualized admissions support from their schools. So I set out to democratize college admissions with ESAI. It's the first of its kind, ethical, gamified, and affordable AI platform for college applicants. We have a suite of AI tools that help students navigate everything from program discovery to college essay support to financial resources, helping them build out a cohesive story without ever outsourcing their writing or ideas entirely. Since launching our MVP last summer, we've already helped over 100,000 students get into their dream school after reaching over 8 million students on TikTok. We also have a new B2B offering with over 100 high schools and districts already on our partner waitlist. So now in order to deliver on this demand, we're seeking $1 million in funding for our pre-seed round. And we are hoping that you can help us democratize college admissions and allow every student to put their best story forward with ESAI.
Amazing. Is there a demo that we could see?
Yeah. Feel free to kind of pass this around.
Jesse, can you tell us what you see?
All right. So there's a series of tools here around a story strategist, a school matchmaker, writing your personal statement. It is not a pure like text input, like just type the prompt that you want. It sort of like steps you through each of these. So you're doing it in a way that is simpler, bite-sized, which we obviously know in Gen Z, you found a lot of your users for TikTok. Short form is better than long form.
Yeah, we believe students are experiencing chatbot overload and they often don't even know what to ask a chatbot. So we really tried to create chunked out tools that help them with specific parts of the process as they need them so that we can really hold their hand through every piece of an application.
Have you raised money for this so far? And maybe if you have or have not, what it's cost you to get to 100,000 students and the millions of views on TikTok?
Yeah, so all of that was when we were a team of one and completely bootstrapped. So in addition to being a college advisor, I have a background in marketing and specifically content marketing. So I was able to put that to work, reach students without any paid budget on TikTok, and get our first 100,000 users of our MVP that way. We just started raising this pre-seed round a couple of months ago. We're about 300K into the 1 million with an additional 200K of soft commits. So we're looking for support to get us through the second half of the round.
It's on a safe?
It's on a safe with a $5 million valuation cap and 20% discount.
Got it.
So it's 100,000 MVP. Are you charging?
So we mostly tested our MVP for free in the last year. However, we have generated about $50K in revenue to date, a lot of that coming from our new enterprise contracts. We are launching our new and improved platform this Friday based on learnings from those initial users that will really push a conversion from free to paid. And we are expecting to do over $400K in revenue just in the B2C product this summer.
And so long term, this is a B2B to C product?
So we are pushing both. Most immediately, our revenue is going to come from the B2C push. We already have a big social presence. We know how to build for Gen Z, and we can be a bit scrappier that way. Long term, there are a lot of benefits going direct to schools. It's bigger annual sales, combats some of the seasonality of admissions. And as a mission-based founder, I think we can reach more lower income students if we go into districts where they're not getting as much support. So we are building out a very intentional pipeline of about 200 schools in this next year. And then long term, I'm going to scale from there.
What are you thinking about in terms of the business model, how you might charge? Are you thinking like a freemium model?
Yeah, this new platform is a freemium model. On Friday, all students will be able to access our Story Strategist tool for free. And then if they want access to the entire suite of tools in our platform, it's $49.99 a month or $250 for the year, which is kind of very intentionally priced out so that even if students maybe only wanted to use this for 3 months while they're applying, the annual plan would combat some of that and hopefully keep them around longer.
So 100K users got them for free, but what percentage of these users actually finished and created an essay?
Most students used us for college essay support. Our conversion to paid was already about a 2%, and most of those users who created an account at least used our free essay tool, so that helps them come up with essay topics. Basically everything I would do as an advisor, which of course isn't outsourcing an entire essay, but is helping them frame their topic or outline or edit. So that's what the majority of students did.
So I'm invested in on the board of an adjacent company called Teal. It's basically a lot of what you're talking about, but for people in their job search. And it's been an exceptional business to be invested in. It's a huge opportunity. I think one of the unlocks that they had was they've continued to scale past many millions of users, a lot of paying customers, with a very focused organic growth plan that has continued as they've grown as opposed to having to pay for users. And so I'd be curious, how are you thinking about scaling top of funnel growth?
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited about the fact that admissions is kind of the first time as a person, maybe you have to think about your life in this big picture way. Like, what is my story and what do I want to do with it? And so we have a cool opportunity to grow with our own users over time and even partner with things like, career readiness platforms to say, okay, we've started the beginnings of this portfolio for you and we're going to match it to your dream school. Now, how are we going to help you get into programs at that school or your first internship, et cetera? So I think the long-term growth potential there is really exciting, but we're starting out focused with admissions.
Julia, I love how your background fits really well with this space, and I'm very impressed by you as a marketer.
Thank you.
I think for me, one of the things that I don't like about the mechanics of this model is there's constant churn with the direct-to-consumer model, right? And it's like you graduate, okay, I no longer need this, and then now you have to go and get the next cohort of people who are going to graduate soon. So it's like just to get back up to the level of last year, you have to put in a lot of effort and then some to grow. And for me, I just feel like that kind of growth pattern is really hard, so I'm out. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I will add, stickiness is really important to us. So we're trying to build in features like how do we make your portfolio live on this platform in a way that you do have to keep coming back. And all of your stuff and deadlines live here. And so it's very intentional into how we're building the product. But it is one of the benefits of B2B too, is we have built-in applicants on an annual school contract that would combat some of that.
How early in the cycle of thinking about college do you acquire people? Is it juniors? Is it sophomores? Is it
It's
seniors
a great
scrambling?
question. I mean, right now, most of our users are rising seniors, so people applying to college in real time. But obviously, going earlier, things like program discovery are actually best done as early as freshman or sophomore year. So if you find out what your dream school is, you can figure out what you need to do to get there. If we can get them thinking about this earlier, that's more seats at the school level that we could sell.
How do you think about kind of the initial big market? Does this work for every person who's going to apply to college? Does it work if they're going to apply to trade schools? Does it work if they're outside the US. How do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, if you boil it down to just people looking at traditional four-year institutions in the U.S. alone, that's almost 4 million applicants in the U.S. every year. If you add transfer students and grad school applicants, which our platform is set up for as well, that goes up to 7 million students in the U.S. alone. If you expand internationally, there's between 25 and 30 million people applying to some sort of higher ed institution every single year. So if
That's the big money.
Yeah, and if the lifetime value is at about 250 right now, and that's just assuming that 3-month to annual subscription, then we're looking at a $75 billion plus TAM. Of course, that's just B2C and that's just applicants. We do talk to a lot of nonprofits and investors who focus on social impact about alternative post-secondary pathways. What if you do want to go direct to trade school, direct to workforce, things like that? In my opinion, our ethos of helping you tell your personal narrative and match that to whatever your dreams are could apply to any of those options. And so it is something that is in our product roadmap that we can add pretty easily.
I will say I really like what you're doing, so I'd like to invest in this. I would do $50K. I think it's an exciting space. As somebody whose guidance counselor was very busy and was not very helpful, I would have loved if this existed.
Yeah, that's the number one feedback we get is I wish I had this when I was in college.
I'm not sure that my 8-year-old will wind up going to college. I don't know what's going to happen with college by the time he's that old, but if he does, this is something I would want him to have.
Amazing. Thank you.
I'm curious, what does the tech and platform give you over simply going directly to ChatGPT, Anthropic, whatever your favorite flavor of AI is?
Sure. I think at the bare minimum, what we always go back to is students don't know what to even ask. So you'd have to be really good at prompt engineering and understand the admissions landscape to know what to ask. But even if you assume that students understand what they need to do and they understand how to prompt AI well, ChatGPT is just not trained on real-time admissions data and doesn't necessarily have an understanding of what it takes to make a great college applicant. So our AI is trained on a proprietary coaching method created by myself and our chief academic officer, who comes from admissions on the higher ed side, as well as trained on real-time data. So we can get all the way down to specific classes and even professors at these schools that students can research and even mention in their applications to show demonstrated interest. So at the end of the day, it's not a chatbot. It's more of a walk you through very specific parts of the process. And I think that's what makes us really different from some of these just specialized AI tools that feel pretty similar to ChatGPT.
Currently, you say you have 2% of your users transitioning to paid.
On the MVP we did, our goal now for the summer is closer to 4, and it's set up in a way that we think we can do it.
Okay. That's not enough.
The pitch for SAI. We'll be right back.
Currently, you say you have 2% of your users transitioning to paid.
On the MVP we did, our goal now for the summer is closer to 4, and it's set up in a way that we think we can do it.
Okay. That's not enough.
I'd say it's a starting place. I mean,
It is very much so as a starting place. In my mind, this is a very, very valuable tool.
Thank you.
The way your business is structured now, that 2% has got to be higher or you're not pricing it right.
I agree. I think the MVP gave us a lot of learnings on how we can get that number up and how we can go to not just the 4 million undergraduate applicants, but the 7 million applicants in total. And we've already reached a lot of international applicants who apply to U.S. schools. It's a really big market. A couple of our existing investors are helping us get into some international schools in Asia, for example. There's a lot of potential to grow this at just the admissions side, and that's not counting how we can help evolve students into their career over time, too.
Seems like it'd be amazing business with a lot of users, but not a lot of revenue. And I don't know where the larger portion of the revenue growth could come from today sitting here. And it could just be I'm just an idiot, right? I don't know. But just doing the back of napkin math, the math ain't mathing for me. So I'm out. But I need to be a customer because my 13-year-old needs to be on this platform ASAP. And the fact that that's true, that me as a parent, I know that you're not charging enough. As a parent, I'm going to pay what I can to help my child get to school. And the crux of it is helping them get their essay ready for those scholarships, which means me paying for your platform may end up saving me money for sending them to college.
True.
That's worth a lot to me.
Yeah.
But for the moment, I'm out.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I was on the board of a college for
nice.
several years, and I was on the marketing and admissions committee.
Very cool. So you know this world.
Yeah, I do. I think I have a slightly different take on pricing. Willingness to pay is highly variable domestically, but internationally you could charge significantly more
Yeah.
for this product because those people generally aren't eligible for financial aid.
Yeah, I mean, I guess a note on our pricing too. Right now,
Yeah.
we're at $49.99 based on the amount of tools we already have available. So as we add more, we're looking at adding more tiers of pricing as well, and that might combat some of that.
The equality-minded person in me likes you keeping it inexpensive and accessible, and I guess
It's a balance we have to strike as well.
and the right answer might be B2B for people where price is an issue. It's effectively free to them, paid for by the school, and just a higher target price for the people that you charge B2C, and an even higher price.
International.
And the other, because my big learning from this admissions experience was the international students fundamentally don't understand this personal essay. Like, I don't have to, in my home country, I give them my test scores and they tell me where I'm going to school.
Right.
So there's a lot of idiosyncrasies, and there's just simply more universities to research. And I think if you could become a tool that helps international students, you'll have a secondary business, which is around helping these students discover colleges, universities that weren't on their roadmap, that based on what you learn about their interests, background, could be. So there's a whole lot of interest
Yeah.
here. So I think I want to invest $25K.
Okay,
I have a whole bunch of questions around the business model and the level of effort
sure.
between B2B and B2C. I just think there are pockets with higher willingness to pay that you can address if you're clever with pricing.
I'd love to talk about it with you. Yeah.
Yeah, so I love your mission. I am out. However, I have LPs that I invest on behalf of their schools.
Oh, great.
And so it's in my best interest that my schools succeed, that I help. So I would love to introduce you to the teams that I work with.
It'd be great.
I just know nothing about this, and part of it is because I dropped out of high school. And a lot of what you're talking about, I've just been riveted listening because I don't understand any of it. So it's one of these things that I just have no domain expertise.
Yeah.
I just can't add anything.
No, I appreciate that, but would love to meet some of your schools.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
schools may be another revenue source. You know, a lot of these schools are in the recruiting game, and they want to be able to identify talent
Exactly.
under certain criteria earlier. You probably know this better than anyone. They're willing to pay big dollars for that if they can see those profiles of people earlier.
Yeah, and we're learning a lot about our users and what they like and where they might be a good fit for, and we could do some really unique matching for schools that are having trouble with enrollment.
You're prompting them. You're like, hey, while you're writing that essay, have you thought about checking this box and adding the school to your list?
Exactly.
That's $1,000 to the school.
The school I was with, like, they spent a significant amount of money on student acquisition.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, there's some number of schools that are well known, and a significant number that are very high quality institutions that are just not as well known. They don't have the same brand recognition.
Yeah, completely agree. I'm excited about that as we evolve a little.
Awesome.
Great.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you all so
Thank
much.
you.
Great
Yeah,
to
thank
meet
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I will admit I was playing a little game with myself. I wrote Cyan won't like this because she likes to break the system and she drops out of school. So
I stayed quiet for a reason.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Because
but
I didn't want to
Yes.
bring my
Derail,
parade
yeah.
and derail
Yeah.
her.
Yeah.
And so if I'm ever quiet like that, that's
Yeah.
usually why. I even
So-
wrote down "kill the debt machine."
So I said it in this. I tell my son all the time, you do not have to go to college. Like I'm like you. I think the system's broken,
But some
while
kids,
it exists,
it makes sense for them.
Yeah, totally.
You know?
And while this system exists, and I think like it's going to exist for a while, I think the leveling the playing field is the right move.
Yes.
Like let's give everyone access.
Also, I just think helping people find. I have had a bunch of friends who like picked schools for all kinds of random reasons and ended up being unhappy. And I'm like, I bet you there was a school that you could, an equivalent
was
school
way
where you would have
better.
been way
Yeah.
better. You would have had
Yeah.
way better experience. You'd have been way happier.
Yeah.
Well, I also think because of what's going on in the world, there's a lot of people looking for other schools
Yep.
as
Yeah.
well.
Yep.
So they're just like, I don't want to go to the Ivy Leagues, as
Yeah.
it turns out, because there's
Or
a
I wanna
cohort
transfer.
that might not. I want to transfer now.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of things going on where people are like rethinking their decisions.
Yeah.
This is very lucrative, but I think part of me feels like, oh gosh, I hate the helicopteriness of
Yeah.
all of this.
The helicopter parenting?
Oh yeah, like we're funneling people through the gauntlet.
How the VCs really feel. Coming up after this.
This is very lucrative, but I think part of me feels like, oh gosh, I hate the helicopteriness of all of this.
The helicopter parenting?
Oh, yeah. Like we're funneling people through the gauntlet. I guess I just go back and forth between like, do you include more people in the existing system or do you try to take down the system? Like this is where I just kind of waver.
But she does put herself in a position where she can change it. She's able to help democratize it.
She can't change ultimately like the college thing, right? The idea of like getting into college, the value of college, you pay so much for college, you go into debt for college, like all that. She can't change that.
But she mentioned like trade schools and career advice, like even just like choosing what major or whether to go to school or not. Like, she can help with that whole process.
But I'm also, I don't know.
I'm skeptical.
But I think sometimes you meet founders, you're like, I just don't want to see, like, that's not like a vision of the world that I want to see exist.
Yeah, I think that's part of my struggle. Like, I do think there is a
businesses.
great business in here somewhere, like, personally, and, like, do I want this?
I met a bunch of, like, fantasy sports companies that wanted to go into gambling. And I was like, you're going to make a lot of money, but this isn't, like, something I want to support.
Yeah.
And so, like, you will go make the money. I won't be an investor. And it's just, like, that's not.
Well, I mean, for something like it, because it's not like, I don't know, a vice category or something, like I'm open-minded to it, but I also still have the concern about the 100% churn every year, pretty much. So,
no, that's fair.
you know, so it's not just this one thing, but philosophically, I'm less excited.
Her and I are really into the idea of a Ready Player One
Like, I would
educational
prefer
universe.
somebody coming here and saying, we're going to build this new school.
Yeah, a new school.
A VR school?
Something.
Something,
Just something
yeah.
new.
That's accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
It's
Like the old institution is broken. Here's what the new one looks
I
like.
think the issue
It's not what
is
she's building.
what are we trying to solve? Are we trying to solve education? Or are we trying to solve credentialing? I actually think the two should be separate.
I don't disagree with that.
They're tightly coupled.
Yeah.
Yes, they are
really-
tightly coupled.
At the moment.
Yeah, I'm
At the
excited
moment.
that companies are moving in the direction of requiring less accreditation. That is a movement that's actually helping because that was the hard requirement that they had on the job descriptions that said you had to have a bachelor's degree or whatever. It was one of the things I discovered as somebody who doesn't have a degree is that thing on there is just so that they can tell you no.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
And so companies started dropping it, and then that actually really helped open up the job marketplace.
So I have one final question. Jesse and Charles, if you didn't have the previous experience, you with your portfolio company, and you, Charles, with being on the board, you see you're on a board at the
I'm on the board of a
admissions?
college. My subcommittee was like marketing and enrollment.
Oh, wow.
Very,
If you
very
didn't-
topical.
If you didn't have that view and that insight to evaluate this business with, would you have still invested?
No.
I would be in a maybe category. I think in this one, it was total pattern recognition. All the risks that you outlined, I totally see. I just, Teal has built the same engine for a very similar part. And I'm like, if you can solve it for this, the market's slightly smaller in the US than Teal's, because Teal's like 40 to 50 million people a year change jobs. But like international is so much easier with this than
can
jobs
charge
because
so
it's like
much.
they're all applying to US.
Yeah.
I like that question because it implies that we pass because maybe we don't have the same experience. We're coming at it from our own worldview of education, which kind of just shows that, investors are going to pick what they're attracted to and what they want to actually spend their intellectual time on.
Yeah.
And that's the type of investor that you want.
Wait,
No,
Jesse,
I-
did you say that you dropped out?
I dropped out of college to start working. And I also got suspended from high school for computer hacking. And the only reason I got into college is because I wound up fixing a security problem in the school network, which allowed me to get back onto the computers, which had my superintendent write my letter of recommendation, basically outlining why my suspension was not something that they should view as a negative when I went to Drexel. Getting kicked
what a
out
story.
may have been the only reason I got in because my grades weren't that great. And my guidance counselor was legit.
We should be
not
celebrating
helpful.
hackers.
My parents were like, we're not really mad at you. We just realized that you need to figure out a way to not go to jail with this skill and find a way to channel it into something good.
Like when a kid is identified as breaking things to figure out how they work, they should be immediately put into a school
Yes.
that basically teaches them
channels
the
that.
Yeah.
channels that
Yeah.
energy
Yeah.
because
I
it's
totally
a
agree.
gift.
Like
And
Xavier
instead
School
it's like,
for Special
exactly.
Children.
Instead, we're like, go straight to jail or work for the NSA.
Yeah, those are your options.
That does happen.
Yep, it
Yeah.
does happen.
Stuff like that does happen, but like somebody build that so I can invest in it.
Yes. Party round.
I feel like we're speaking a lot of businesses into existence today.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly Cyan.
By the way, Cyan, you mentioned something I didn't think about. I love that point. We have a couple college endowments as investors as well,
Yeah.
and I'm like, yeah, we should definitely.
Julia walked out of the pitch room with a $50,000 commitment from Jesse, a $25,000 commitment from Charles, and a split panel about how to solve education. I'm not personally thrilled about the idea of a VR school, but there were some good ideas in there. Let's keep the discussion going.
Do we fix the system or do we start over? It's both. Like, we can't just ignore the existing system as it is. It's not going away overnight. So we do need to find ways to incrementally make it better. Is college the future? I don't know. But either way, we're going to help you figure out how to reach your goals and tell better stories to get there. And so that makes me feel like we're doing something that helps no matter what the answer is. I think both can be true.
Did Jesse and Charles invest after the show? Find out on our season finale at 7 p.m. on December 11th. You can register for the virtual watch party at pitch.show/party. No offer to invest in SAI is being made to the listening audience on today's show, but LPs in the Pitch Fund do have access. You can learn more and invest in our debut fund at thepitch.fund. Fund 1 closes to the general public on December 15th. Next week on The Pitch.
Our vision is to democratize access to care through telerobotic and autonomous procedures.
Fantastic mission.
There's no way people are going to let you do robotic surgery. You make one mistake, you're out of business.
I'm about tearing down the systems that do not work and rebuilding them to support everybody.
That's next week. Subscribe to The Pitch right now and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Applications are closing soon for season 13 of The Pitch. We're taping January 14th through 16th in Miami, Florida. VCs and LPs will fly in from all over the country to attend in person. Founders can learn more at pitch.show/apply. This episode was made by me, Josh Muccio, Lisa Muccio, Anna Ladd, Enoch Kim, and Jackie Papanair, with deal sourcing by Peter Liu and John Alvarez. Music in this episode is by The Musemaker, Breakmaster Cylinder, Firstix, Marlon Gibbons, Imagined Nostalgia, and Gonamo. The Pitch is made in partnership with the Vox Media Podcast Network.